There are main things in the Power Ranger universe that need to be mentioned, and the main factor in all of it is time. Power Rangers Time Force was in the year 3000, SPD was in 2025, but so far it looks like we've not come to the point where all of this will match up. Now, the year 3000, I'd be very surprised if Power Rangers is still going at that point. But if it is, I'm hoping that they will turn around and kind of connect Time Force into it over time. But with Power Rangers SPD, it's the closest one in the time frame that will get so far. And yet again, where we are currently is we only have a couple of years until SPD is actually the 2025 Power Rangers thing in the time, in our year effectively. But why? All the way through, Power Ranger fans have wanted to know, will SPD be around, or at least the environment of 2025, the future? You literally see it in the intro where you have flying cars, you have loads of different things. These are all the things that you would have normally. But yet, are we going to get it? If you were to ask me a while ago, do I see this happening? I would have said no. I don't think that they would have reached it until quite recently with Dino Fury Season 2, where they slowly introduce aliens being on Earth. And we've kind of seen this with other ones. We know that there are different galaxies out there. We know that there are humans out there. Mainly, we've seen it with, or aliens, should I say. We've seen it with the Lion Galaxy in Ninja Steel. We saw it with Aquitar in Mighty Morphing Alien Rangers. We saw it a lot. We know that there are aliens out there. SPD obviously was the biggest one. But we know that there are different ways out there to kind of bring aliens to Earth to actually start the progression of SPD and what it's done. In Ninja Steel with Galvanex, I think his name is, I hope I said it right, but we saw that you had Galaxy Warriors, which was broadcasting to all the universe, and we know that there are a ton of alien monsters that were either evil or actually were kind of there just to watch the evil aliens destroy the Power Rangers and etc, and get the Nexus prison for obviously Galvanex. And we know that the Rangers have actually kind of like spotted it and mentioned these characters all the way through. And only now, since basically the second season of Dino Fury, as well as Beast Morphers, they've actually mentioned it as well with previous alien monsters that the entire world knows about them. But when would they have settled down? Now, I would probably say Piggy in SPD was maybe the first to be on Earth, as in like, you know, and not a ranger or anything like that. But we know that space travel is there. We've seen it in Lost Galaxy. We've seen loads of stuff like this. But only with Ravkonians actually now coming to Earth and settling down has actually the progression of the SPD timeline now starting. But only 15.5 of you are subscribed to the channel and over 84.6 aren't. So if you're watching this and you've not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, as well as like the video, and as well leave me a comment down below so I can read it. Now, I'm kind of curious on whether Saban actually thought this through. You know, obviously with SPD as well as Time Force, they were kind of done separately. But with Time Force, obviously that was done by Saban, where SPD was done by Disney. But you'd kind of think that Saban, as well as the writers, would actually start looking into this. Now, I know that Saban doesn't like the kind of crossover, overlapping kind of continuation. He wants pretty much all the Ranger series set in their own world and not really kind of crossing over, which is a bad thing because literally we've seen it happen so many times with either Rangers coming back from other seasons. We saw the Legendary War, which had all of it in anyway, but saying like, oh, I don't want this crossover doesn't actually work. And it means that you have to really look at what you're doing. And I believe that Saban wouldn't have moved forward, which I generally think is a really bad thing to do, mainly because that's what the fans want. The fans want to see other Rangers come across, interact, do stuff, and actually be intrigued, going, oh my god, I can't believe it. And again, like hearing Simon saying that Saban didn't want this, and then seeing like pop up the Beast Morpher Rangers turn up into Dino Fury, I generally really like that. Seeing the Ranger Vault, again, had to be certain weapons and stuff from what Simon said. Seeing that turn up was more exciting. Seeing all of this rather than just generically just like kind of like skipping it, moving past it. So I don't know why Saban didn't want this, because it expands your universe so much and makes fans go like, oh my god, who's coming back this week? But yet again, if he didn't want this, why did we see it in Dimensions in Danger when pretty much some of the most popular characters came back? just doesn't make sense if you're thinking it from that point of view. It just makes me think that Saban didn't really care and didn't really want this, but it just makes me go, why? Why did you think this? Again, with Saban not wanting to link previous seasons, it doesn't make sense seeing as Super Sentai does it pretty much all the time, either through their kind of like their anniversaries, their films or whatnot. And I'm guessing their sales and their interactions are 10 times better than what we've seen with Power Rangers. But not wanting to move forward literally just limits the growth of your brand. And yet again, I thought that he would have wanted this to kind of grow as much as possible to kind of link in. So it would be very kind of curious to know why he chose this sort of path, why he didn't want them happening, because to me, I'm just baffled on it. It also kind of makes me think of past seasons. Why would you introduce a Time Force and In Space, or like linking, say, In Space and Turbo up? Why would you kind of like have this mentality now saying like no linking to previous seasons where you've done it all in the past? So I don't know where the kind of thought process is on this one. It just makes me kind of go, huh? What? Why? Now I can understand like not adding VR troopers or not doing like say Big Bag Beetleborgs at the time, like they're completely different, and I don't know if they linked up with other Sentais at that time. So I understand not linking those worlds together, but not having future Ranger seasons, it's a bit So when you cement something like, say, this Power Ranger season is set in 2025, or this season is set in the year 3000, it makes you kind of think that's what you have to kind of incorporate. Now, let's say, for example, they want to skip this and they want to move past it and they don't want to have SPD. At least bring up, say, the technology has completely changed. You got flying cars. I have the Rangers completely off-world for the next season, but then obviously that's when that 2025 comes in, and you can link that in perfectly by getting something like, oh, Grum, who's Grum, and be like, oh my god, like this has happened on Earth, and then you just completely skip it. You've got the suits, you could do something with them, but effectively you could just not link them properly. It just doesn't make sense on why Saban would not even want to try this. I'm going to talk more about this in a completely different video about SPD and stuff like that, but I think my main take on this is if you're not going to move forward with the story of Power Rangers, what you've set in lore with previous seasons of SPD and Time Force, then why even try and put their kind of their years in there or talk about it, because it just doesn't make sense. So yeah, to me, I feel like Saban doesn't want to move forward or didn't want to move forward. I was just like, yeah, I feel like if he still controlled the entire whole franchise right now, that we would never see anything. Beast Morphers would be self-contained, those sorts of things. I don't think we would have properly got a good Legendary War. Well, to be fair, we didn't even get it anyway. But I feel like if you're going to stick to that, like no continuation or linking, then you could have just had the Super Mega Force Rangers fight loads of X-Borgs and that's it, and fight all around the city. But yeah, I think that's it. I really wish Saban moved forward, but I don't know what his main thinking, and I would love to know what he was thinking about this. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? To me, I think this is a really bad thing, and he really needed to kind of bring these together and say, yeah, link them together, because that's what the fans want. That's what we crave. If you crave this, let me know down below in the comments. I'm going to leave it there, and I'll see you.
チャンネルをサポートしてくれてありがとうございます。チャンネル登録、高評価お願いします。以下のリンクから商品を入手することができます。